Welcome back to the SSB Podcast. Gentlemen, this is a very, very times 100 very special episode.
Times 100.
Times 100. Why is that, Jesse?
Well, if you can see me right now, I'm ecstatic.
Are you pumped?
Absolutely ecstatic. You know why?
Why?
Because we've been doing a few episodes here and there, right?
Yeah.
And this was especially special because just how there were 3 people that went into the fiery furnace.
Ooh.
Yeah. Okay.
In the fire, they saw 4.
Ooh.
Yeah, man.
My friends, my people, my audience, our audience. We don't just have 3 on this podcast.
No.
We have 4.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, Andrew Mills.
Let's give it up for him.
Yeah.
Here we go.
What an honor.
It's an honor. How you feel, man? How you feel?
Well, on the way here, I was thinking there's probably about 3 other places I'd rather be.
Wow.
But
That is a great...
Straight to the point. I love it.
but I knew this would be a fantastic opportunity to be with you guys today.
And for the listeners, this is not just any person.
It's not.
This is our high school principal.
Yeah.
What are the
Literally our high school.
what are the
What are the odds
What are the odds?
that I have
odds?
nothing to do tonight?
Yes. But
Yeah.
we're excited. I mean, Jesse, myself, and Dan graduated from the class of 2018.
20 great team.
20 great team.
team.
Go squad.
Go squad.
Yeah. Go squad.
And
That's
Still one of the best to ever come through the school.
That's
Yeah.
facts.
Facts.
Factual.
Like I shed a tear at graduation.
Yeah, this man does.
Do you
not
remember
shed
that?
tears.
I actually do.
Okay, all right.
We might hopefully
Do not.
We're gonna
insert that
Let's
in
run.
at this
Let's
point.
run that back.
Run that back.
Run the
in the
clip back.
podcast itself. Just put a little clip there.
I don't know why I was crying. I was just in an emotional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
But
sure
I
there
did.
were actually other reasons why you.
That had to
realized
have been
it.
it.
Yeah, there was. It wasn't actually.
Yes.
us.
It was just
You were going through a lot.
I was going through a lot at that point in my life.
so. You have many. 2018, and I had the greatest time in my senior year. I mean, I had met these 2 incredible brothers. Mr. Mills has been an amazing support of us from day one. I mean, we've never not had support from him for anything. And so we just want to say thank you. Thank you
appreciate
so
that.
much for
Yes.
believing in us, for writing detentions, and for
Deleting
Deleting
detention.
Deleting a
detentions.
lot of
Yeah, yeah,
detentions.
yeah, yeah,
I got out of a lot of trouble because of this
Yes.
man right here.
so.
Oh.
But
Yeah.
I have a video. I still have a video of Daniel sleeping.
Oh, we have
in
plenty
class.
of videos.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah, we
and
guys,
senior trip
hey,
video,
yes.
too.
Yes,
I was
yes, we
I was
do.
a good student now. I mean, that's a bad image right there.
We had a
But
lot of pressure on him.
Wait,
so
hold on.
he had to rest.
Hold on. Recall the situation he stabbed someone with a pencil?
all right now. Hey there. It's not about me, guys. Hey.
So in middle school, can I tell the story?
Yes, you may.
So when he was a senior, we went back and reviewed his behavior record. And in middle school, he got up out of his seat to sharpen his pencil, but went and stabbed somebody with the
I'm getting
pencil.
exposed. This is crazy.
This is
Yeah.
it's that time. SSB Podcast.
People don't know this about you.
They don't.
People don't
they-
need-
they
the people
see
don't-
humility.
People don't need to know the past of my middle school
now.
history. Guys,
Until
you guys
now.
are embarrassing.
I was gonna add another fact, but
All right, so I do want to say this though. We are here, and we
Yes.
have you on here to express our appreciation.
Yes.
for
I
you
appreciate
and
that.
the impact that you have had on not only our lives, but just the students in general, right? And we're going to dive more deeply into that. But we also want to, we talk about on here all the time, we talk about different topics, but shameless plug. Elijah oftentimes, or he's done it once, he's wore
he
his
doesn't.
Dentalets detailing.
Yes, sir.
He's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
business entrepreneur.
Fully
And he-
support.
right, fully support.
Just
And
remember,
his business is
can't
booming.
spell details.
Right.
Daniel.
He wore his polo on one of our episodes.
Yeah.
Shameless plug there. But right here we have a proud plug moment. Andrew Mills, he's an author.
I am.
And his most recent book is the Grad Code.
Please show the people.
We're going to show you guys what we have here.
Bestseller.
Yep.
Bestseller.
There you go. New York Times bestseller. He's an author of 3 books. That is the most recent. The first one was
First book was called Pick Up the Phone,
Yep.
Creating a Culture That Establishes Meaningful Relationships with Students. And during COVID, I was about goodness, 14 years into education. And someone had and I've gone through a lot of different scenarios and experiences and been able to help a lot of students.
Yeah.
And someone encouraged me to put it in a book form.
Yeah.
So I did that during COVID.
Yeah.
And it's designed for teachers or really anybody that works with kids, teenagers or students.
So real quick, what's your most recent, and you'll touch on the very second book that you released, but what's the most recent book about the Grad Code?
The Grad Code, having worked in secondary education for nearly 20 years, I've seen a lot of kids come through high school
Yeah.
and a lot of kids not be prepared for high school or a lot of kids not be prepared for what's after high school.
Right.
So it's 50 codes. It's really 50 lessons of things you don't learn in high school.
Yeah.
That if you learn these things, it'll unlock your success and you'll be successful in whatever you do.
Yeah.
So there's 9 different categories: motivational codes, character codes, leadership codes, job codes, college codes, money codes, adulting codes, tough codes.
Yeah.
And I just added, almost as it was on its way to the publisher, mental health codes.
Wow.
Got you. That's good.
really
That's
important.
so
That's a
good.
good one.
And then, ironically enough, your second publish is the second day of school.
The second,
It was
Right.
marketing purposes.
Yeah,
It was
marketing
intentional.
so this one's actually designed for teachers.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's 5 steps to effective classroom management. And your classroom management is all predicated upon your success with the relationships you build with your students. So I created 5 steps. Number 1, you have to communicate with your students. Number 2, you have to relate to your students. Number 3, you have to differentiate for your students.
Yeah.
Number 4, then you can educate your students. And most importantly, you have to celebrate.
Right. That's good. And that's part of the reason why we brought on to you to this podcast is to express that level of appreciation, but also acknowledge your servantship, like the ability to serve others and pour into students, right? And you can see it within the title of these books, right? Like he's a service to the people. So we want to talk about that and discuss kind of your journey along the way, your upbringing into getting into education, and then your career start with that, and then publishing a book. And then talk about some of our class memories that we shared.
Yeah, we're gonna have some fun stories.
Oh yeah, man.
It's gonna be fun for sure.
Elijah's always got something up his sleeve.
Always.
It does.
So I'm
Hey.
anticipating.
Hey, trust me.
Yeah.
If there's anyone that can surprise Mills, it's Elijah.
it's Elijah.
For sure.
No,
you're,
100%.
you're gonna bring up the pool on senior. I know
pool?
you are.
No, let's talk about how we did an escape room when we stole your car.
Oh yeah.
You
I,
did
I
steal my
was
car.
able to,
That's true.
legally.
Yeah.
Legally steal his car.
Steal a
That
car.
was
That is
more
facts.
recent. Yeah.
So real quick, Mills. So how did you become a principal? Talk about your career starting in that
goodness.
perspective. A little bit of a background on that.
So I was a student in the school in which you guys graduated from in 1988. It's a private school.
Yeah.
And Harvest Prep.
Yep.
There you go. Shameless. That's a
Just-
shameless plug
That's
right
a
there.
shameless plug, baby.
Just got off. They just left the office, and didn't end up graduating from there. Ended up at the public school in my hometown, and went on to college. Was trying to figure out what I wanted to major in college, and I started off with business and political science. I just didn't. I just wasn't feeling it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I decided to get a job actually, let's back up. I decided to join the military.
Okay. Yeah,
So
Thank you for your service.
I appreciate
Thank
that.
you so
So
much.
I-
Your service.
So I joined the United States Air Force, did that for 4 years, and while I was in, got my degree in education.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
So then came out, taught, served as a assistant principal, then eventually a high school principal, and I'm the head of the school. And I've been fortunate enough to be the head of school and high school principal, so I'm kind of in dual roles right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said M multiple times. Can you cut that out?
No.
Okay.
No,
No. We won't.
Anyway.
this is raw, unfiltered.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
It's raw and filtered.
One take wonders.
All right. So anyway, long story short, when I had the opportunity to come back to the same school in which I attended to be a teacher, I took advantage of that opportunity, and then from there it's kind of history. So for the last, we're talking this. I just finished I'm finishing this week. Will be the finish of my 17th year.
Yeah. So real quick
crazy.
story. I started there when you were a teacher, right? And I
Yeah.
remember being an 8th grader, and as much as Mills probably won't admit it, he does have favorites.
I do have.
He's openly admitting it, guys. You guys heard it. That's for the
Unfiltered.
record.
I'm getting,
Mills.
it's like an old person where they get to the point where they just don't care about anything.
You just
That's-
gotta
I'm
acknowledge it.
slowly
Yeah.
getting to that place.
At least you're honest.
We all have favorites, though,
We do.
right? So, but,
Every teacher has favorites.
right.
Yeah.
So acknowledge, we all have favorite
Okay.
children too. I don't
That's
have
good
any
to
children.
know.
You just have the guts to say it.
Right.
You
But
know
at
what I'm
first, he didn't want to admit it. He has favorites though. So, but to that story though, when I was starting at HPS, he was the principal. Well, he was not the principal. He was a teacher at the time. And I remember he was substituting my class for a day, and I just randomly decided, because it's a prep school, you gotta wear uniforms. I decided to stand up and tuck in my shirt.
Wow.
And he was like, he pointed to me. He was like, "Hey, what's your name?" I was like, "Daniel." He's like, "You're my new favorite." And from
just kind of gets picked
what
up
else
the
I said
blue,
that day?
though.
I think it was that day.
I
I looked at you and said, "You'll get more scholarship dollars than anybody else in your class."
Yeah, I remember him speaking that over my life, and I was like, "Who is this?" Because he was a substitute at the time for our class. I was like, "Who is this guy speaking over my life like this?" But it was a certain level of joy and comfort that I felt. It was a motivation, inspiration to hear him say, like, "Hey, you're my favorite. You're going to have X, Y, and Z in the future." He was speaking over my life, so that was very impactful for me. And that was in the very beginning. Like, I graduated, obviously 12th grade, and that was middle school, right?
Yeah.
So it just goes to show you like his level of impact, you know, from being a teacher to elevating into a principal, and how his servantship hasn't changed. It's elevated students and helped us.
And it's important, especially in education, to, if you allow the Lord to use you in that field, in that avenue, you can identify when there are certain, like for instance, I knew at that moment this kid's got something special on him. I knew he's going somewhere. Where you were going, I didn't know.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you that too, and you guys can jump in on this too. Like, how do you discover who has potential in your classroom? Like, what is that level of like, hey, this guy has it? Like, because you have to understand people's culture and their background as well, and like you pour into certain those individuals too, depending on their situation. But like, to see the potential in someone just off seeing the way they move, how they speak, how do you discover that in an individual?
Yeah. Is it intuition? Is it just your gut feeling?
Right.
Is it you just see a certain qualities, characteristics? Dive deep into that.
I think all the above.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are, and again, you say potential. I think every student has potential.
Yeah.
If it takes 15 steps from your freshman year till graduation, some students are going to be on step 9 their senior year.
Right.
Some are going to hit step 15 their sophomore year,
Yeah.
which is what Elijah would have done. And he would have been bored to next student.
Right, yeah.
Or trying to figure out a way to create more steps.
Yeah.
Can you get the bug off my head?
Jeez,
Keep it rolling.
Pretty big.
This is very low budget. It's in my
It's all good now. It's all good now.
It's gone
Flew
now.
off. I didn't know what to do. I was about to just smack you.
That's
but, like,
FBI listening to us right now.
And please don't do that again.
sorry.
This is Mills. People, this is just how he is. That's it. There's no
Raw, it's
this
raw,
is raw,
uncut.
relevant, and you know.
Yeah.
So, but continue.
But yeah, so anyway, I think based on what the student has done and what the student is doing, you can kind of see, okay, this student's going to be able, or this student will make something of themselves based on their own accord, their own skill, their own characteristics. There are students where I've often thought to myself, this student's not going to hack it in college, but they'd be like a fantastic realtor. Someone who can go get a realtor certification and go sell houses to people.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
So you said based on what a student has done or based off what they are doing. What about based on a student's circumstances, right? You talked about that in your pick up the phone book, right? Like you had a relationship, you had a certain level of pouring into a student who was dealt with a certain circumstance, right? So like, what's your ability to, how do you feel about nurturing relationships with students, and what attracts you to them?
Right. I think in a lot of situations, and again, there's the old adage, when you see a need, meet the need.
That's good.
There are times when you know deep down inside, like for instance, I was in the Wendy's, the Wendy's drive-thru, and it was after school. I had a long day. I was agitated. I was, it was like 5 o'clock. I had to be at the football game or basketball game or whatever. And the people in the drive-thru were taking forever. They were just, you got the order wrong, this, that, and the other. I pull up, and you guys know exactly where this is at. I pull back up onto Gender Road, and I'm getting ready to turn right to go to like down 70. And there's a homeless man standing there, and then plain as day, I heard God say, "Give him your food."
Wow.
And so I did, and I was like, at that moment, I think he's trying to teach me a lesson.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like, there are people, and obviously in that specific situation, it was like, would you just relax?
Yeah.
There are people out there that have it a little bit worse than what you may have.
That's so true.
But you have the ability to then step in and to be able to help them.
Yeah.
And so in education, there are students that come to school for survival, and there are students that come to school for success. When you figure out, are they coming because they're here to learn, or are they coming because this is the only place they're getting a hot meal that day?
Wow.
When you figure out who that student is based on their circumstances, then you can truly educate that student.
And we've seen that time and time again.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Mills going above and beyond. Again, there's always like a stigma on principals, and we can talk a little bit about that too. But I think you have really you've created a new standard for education.
So true.
And just the way you approach and you talk to students. I haven't seen that to your level.
One of the things that the culture that I've created at our school is that I want students to come hang out in the office.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when I was in school,
It was
most schools, if you're the office, you don't see the principal.
Yeah.
I don't care if students come skip and hang out in my office because they're skipping math or science. I don't care. Because at the end of the day, I know where they're at. I know that we're probably going to have great conversation. I'm going to probably hopefully be able to help them in something at some point in their lives based on something that we're talking about. And at the end of the day, it's like, okay, if you're absent for the day, who cares? I mean, why we care? If you're absent for the day,
Harvest
But
prep, we care.
that's what separates him. That's why he's the best principal.
come hang out.
You know,
I don't do the budget meetings and the planning. I'll do all that stuff later.
Yeah.
But
Because-
when students are in the building, that's my opportunity to be able to build relationships.
Right, because there are certain students who skip class to go to the gym. Like, obviously, that's unacceptable.
8 years later, they still do it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, we were there, like, at 2018, like, they would skip class, like, go to the gym. Like, that's unacceptable.
When you say Dan skipped.
Dan,
Yeah,
And
specifically
Jesse and
Dan.
me, all three of us.
Right, and then, like, you show up to class. But, no, I mean, sometimes we'd ask Mills to write us a pass, and, we'd be good.
they
But,
knew they'd always get a pass.
right, that's some leverage. But, no, that's what makes you so great as a principal. That's one of the things, at least, it's like, you are into building and sustaining relationships, and like one visit to your office could change a student's life. Like, was it important for them to have that one day of class, or come and spend time with principal and learn some things and be able to take those things and carry on, have memories that they have that they can carry and share in the future. So that's so important to understand.
Yeah, it's in a song or something where it says, God will be your bridge if you let him take you over.
Yeah.
So again, when you have the opportunity to extend the olive branch to a student, and again, this could be one of our frequent flyers, as we call them, like you're always being written up, or you don't have the best grades, things of that nature. But one interaction you have, and it's not just a principal, that could be a teacher, a coach, anybody that has influence over a student. One interaction you have can change that the mindset of that student forever.
Yep. That's why it's
A little bit of confidence instilled in that student because finally an adult sat there and had a conversation with me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And talked about what I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can go a long way.
Yeah. And I mean, just wanted to say, like, one of the best pieces of advice I ever got from you.
Oh no.
Oh.
Can we
Cut the tape.
We're done.
discuss this
We're
before we talk?
gonna blurt this one out.
Yeah.
One of the best
One of the beep.
pieces of advice I ever got from you that changed my life was
It's so powerful. He
a-
remembers it.
I know.
when in doubt, cheat your way out. I'm sorry. I had to say it. I had to say it because that actually was something you did say at some
I
point.
still encourage
There's
that.
a lot of
still
quotes.
encourage it.
There's a lot of quotes.
There's
that
a lot of
just
quotes
said
that we can't necessarily.
That we might not be
that
able
would be
to.
funny if we.
It was
blurted them out
funny.
on air, but
So there are a couple of things that I'm not proud of.
No.
One is if in doubt, cheat your way out.
right.
Number two, if you get backed in a corner, lie your way out. I do believe in integrity. I do believe in integrity.
Of course, yeah. And all jokes aside, I mean, like, you truly have impacted our lives, like, more than just, on a student relationship basis, but like overall just like helping us personally like grow, because like you saw the potential in Dan, you saw the potential in Elijah, you saw the potential in me. I don't know how you saw the potential in me.
It took a lot.
It took a lot, yeah. Well, I just remember it was one moment, I have no idea why you said it, but you were just like, you're going to be my favorite next year. And I was like, oh, okay.
So-
And it never happened.
yeah.
That's a great.
It never happened.
And we're still wondering when
but-
next year is.
Yeah.
When is
yeah.
next year?
Yeah, and you honestly, like, you stand out. Like, we wouldn't,
Yeah.
like, it from an outside perspective, like, who would have their principal on a
Right.
podcast?
Yeah.
This man's completely different.
No, he's-
Like,
Yeah,
this
it
man
goes-
is
special.
It goes beyond education, and that's why we're so honored to have you on our podcast. This is something special. So, like, let's to kind of talk about us a little bit, you know.
Oh, yeah.
So what did you see? Well, that's a great segue because you mentioned his influence. He's had influence over all of us. What did you see in the three of us when we were in high school? The traits, the potential, the strengths that made you want to.
Well, one of the things we'll start with Dan. I have to really remember about Jesse.
I'll be the last.
This will give you some time.
It gives them some time to figure out whether I had anything for me.
This is
or
the
not.
order of favorite. One.
Right, and that is true.
It's acceptable. It's acceptable.
One of the things that I actually share in the Grad Code, there's a section in here on humility, and I tell the story of Mr. 4000 because obviously I don't know what you shared so far, but Dan holds 14 state records in football and so forth. But we had a student who, honest to God, okay, again, this is Daniel Bangura, the superstar, the phenom. And
I love you, Dan.
And we had a student who transferred into our school, and they hadn't comprehended that Daniel actually was a student here, but they knew who he was and his stats and all that, and they claimed that they had never seen him in the hallway. And I was like, he's in the hallway every single day. And I pointed them out. They were like, that's him? Because of his humility. Yeah. He didn't have to walk down the hall announcing who he was. He just was.
Yeah.
He was. And then one particular story is I used to print them out back when people used to do newspapers, or I would cut them out. Anytime that our school was featured in the newspaper, I would post it on my door in my office. And there was an article about Dan one day and our football team winning records and whatever. Anyway, long story short, Dan took it down and circled a whole portion of the article. It was like trying to articulate, this is the part that I want you to read. And it was all about Dan giving credit to the lineman. O-line who made his job possible to then get the local, state, and national attention that he got. And that's a true example of humility. I've seen athletes come through our school or any school who have none of those characteristics. I'm the D1 athlete. I'm going to make it. It's all about me. I want the point.
They call those guys jocks.
Exactly.
I am not a jock, guys. I'm
you
human.
You were a student athlete, which is, again, truly putting student before the athlete, but you were just as phenomenal on the athlete side as you were the student side. Yeah. And we've had other students. I can think of one that graduated a couple of years ago that was who was probably the same, but in basketball, where he was a true leader, not because he was appointed to the student council, things of that nature, but he led by example, and students wanted to emulate what he did. Right. Yeah. There was a time during exam week where kids, you know how you are, when you're done with your exam, you'll want to go down to the gym, and we have to close the gym. We made him be the hall monitor. Unofficially, we just stuck him in the hall and said, students leave class, it's your job to put him back in class. And everyone listened to everything he had to say because of the influence that he had with the student body because of of him being humble.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Talk about Elijah a little bit. What's so special about this guy?
Well, Elijah, when he was a senior, we had a spare office in our admin office suite. He takes it upon himself, and he was the student body president. Yeah. So he takes it upon himself to create his own office. So when I say his own office, he brought in a massage chair.
Bro, I remember that.
That
was such a cheap one.
Yeah, it kind of stink. I remember that.
Yeah, it was like off the side of the road or something.
Roadside.
It was not roadkill.
No, not roadkill. Like off the side of the road or something.
Yeah, no, it definitely was.
He attempted to make it bougie.
Literally.
But anyway, so he came in that office. He worked in that office all day. When he wasn't in class, he worked in that office all day. But what was the most interesting piece about that is he wasn't sitting in there figuring out his future. He was sitting in that office planning things for the school.
Yeah.
So what can we do to create new programs? How can we bring in guest speakers? What can we do to make things better? And as the student body president, he took that role seriously. Yeah. We have so many student body presidents that come to the school that do it for their college, or for their accolades for their college application, for the job resume, things of that nature. But he actually exemplified what it meant to be a student leader in the school.
Yeah.
And you don't get that very often. And I just said that's when I cried at graduation.
Yeah.
He's never done that.
I cry one time a year, and that's pretty much it. And then that's when I basically stated we haven't had a student leader come to the school of that caliber in years.
Yeah.
Maybe in my tenure forever.
Yeah.
I'm honored. I'm a loss of words.
Yeah, that was the very first. I think we were the start of a student lounge in the admin office. I think that was, I don't know if it still stands, but
it doesn't.
Okay, it doesn't exist.
We thought about putting stanchions in front of it and
Yeah.
turn the light on so you could
Yeah,
see in there.
Yeah,
That's
so
an example of 20
Candles.
great teams.
Yeah, it was
the
the-
student lounge at Admin office.
yeah, it was the president's office, but it was like, hey, it's not just for me. Like a lot of students. I mean, he was napping and. I mean, we had a lot of happy memories.
Insert the video of him snoring.
I can find it
literally.
quickly.
I've got it, yes.
We got it. So and then he came in with the blowhorn.
Yeah, we have
yeah.
a video
Yeah.
of that too.
Yeah, he was like-
woke me up. Yeah, with the blowhorn.
Yeah, it was-
recording it.
Yeah, it was a special time. So thank you so much.
Yeah,
well, now
Absolutely.
You allowed that space. That was the amazing part, is like you allowed us to be ourselves and to be leaders. And it's evident, like it was evident in that class. It was evident in the school overall, because there's so many things that happened. I believe there was a lot of amazing things that happened when we were seniors.
You're right.
But it honestly was special just because of the fact that you invited it, you motivated it, you inspired us to continue to do that. And that's what you keep doing.
Yeah, and when you've got students who are like you three, incidentally dedicated. There's an acknowledgement in the first book for all three of you guys. It's easier to do things like that.
Yeah.
Because you know everything that they're doing is going to have some kind of impact in the student body in the school.
Right.
Elijah even started something called prep groups. I won't get into all that, but
I remember that.
he was like, well, we have to launch this to the teachers. I said, go into the staff meeting and do it.
Yeah.
And I step out and let him go in there, and he talks to all the staff and says, this is what we're doing. So obviously obviously Elijah had the ability to do that because of the relationships he had with the teachers,
Yeah.
which helps.
Yeah, that's true.
yeah. And let's Mills, now we gave you plenty of time.
Yeah,
You've had more
To be
than
able
enough
to-
time. You've had more than
Jesse.
enough time.
What can we say?
The one element that I attribute to Jesse is going to have to definitely be faith.
that's good.
So I don't know how much he wants me to share or whatever, but as a private Christian school, we have chapel services and then you guys went through those.
Yeah.
And I know Elijah was with him, but every single day Jesse came to the school early to pray for the school.
Yeah.
That's good.
And we haven't had a single person other than we had a teacher who was faithful to do that. But I think as a result, that's why we saw some of the success that we saw in some of our chapel services. Yes, could teachers pray for the school? 100%. We love that. We want that. We need that. But at the end of the day, it's so hard to try to push and get students to do things. Especially it's like basketball season. When we hit the tournament, it's like let's get because we're a small school.
Yeah.
So let's get a student section. But then everyone's like, well, the cool kids play basketball. So how are we supposed to do this? But when you build something genuine from within,
Yeah.
with student leadership. As a result of that, we saw true success in those chapel services, and that's
Yeah.
what the students long for. And I think it's as a result of the behind-the-scenes effort, but also the actions and the humility of people like Jesse,
Right.
who came in when nobody else saw him in there.
Yeah.
Right. And I want to mention one thing. You know what's cool about how he gave a description of each one of us? It represents SSB.
Yeah.
So Jesse represents the spirit, right? He's the soul, right? The leadership, the relationship guy, and I'm the body, right?
I'm just
So
Yeah.
that's very prophetic. That's very prophetic.
I can't get
And
it.
even the way we're seated too. Like we
Right,
didn't
yeah,
plan this out that way.
right,
Spirit,
yeah.
soul, and
So
body.
very, very.
that wasn't planned.
That was not
that's
scripted.
awesome.
That was very much planned. That was not planned actually.
Right.
So we appreciate that.
Yeah, Elijah did try to send me questions in advance, so I worked all day. I couldn't read them.
Yeah. True authenticity.
Speaking of questions, we have a new segment that we're calling Confessions of. And because, Mills, you are a principal, it's going to be Confessions of a Principal.
Oh no.
Reality of being a principal.
Yes.
Uh-oh. Time to
Uh-oh.
confess.
This is we're not
I'll be honest.
as honest as possible. What's your salary? No. Okay, so first
I make so much money I can't leave.
ooh.
Oh. You know you make that money
makes
when
that
you try
money.
when you know you make that money when you don't want to leave Ohio.
He's been trying to go to Florida.
Ohio.
I've been trying to go to Florida for 4 years.
Yeah.
No, longer.
He's been trying to go where I live.
8 years.
Okay.
But
He's a man.
the money's great.
Hey, money's great.
Yeah.
He's on a book tour right
Let's
now.
be honest, my salary doesn't compare to what
Ooh.
The other, I mean, that's a portion of my income.
Flex on him. Ooh.
Hey,
Now he's
portion.
also a
Multiple.
3-time author, soon to be bestseller. So he's doing big things. He's generating multiple different streams of income.
He's a man.
Yes.
Business.
Yeah, my school's not my source. It is a source, but it's not my. It is not the source.
The father is your source.
This is Mills, the flexing Mills.
So
Now, if you want to go back to the original question,
Yes.
school is my source.
yeah.
Okay.
So that's the first confession.
Itself is your source.
Now
That
I
is the
do
source.
sell books for fun.
Yes.
And obviously, as I shared, 100% of the proceeds do go to me. So,
It's a really good cause.
Yes.
It's a really good
Help
cause.
fund
guys.
Mills mentality.
Please help
Yes.
fund Mills.
yeah, Mills mentality.
Where can you find those books?
Yes. Where can you
All
find?
on Amazon.
Yeah.
All on Amazon.
So Jeff Bezos actually is the one making the money.
Correct.
And
Wow.
I get 6% of it or whatever.
I mean, that's crazy.
So it's not about the income; it's about the outcome.
That's deep.
Oof, that's a
Put that in your notepads.
Right now.
Put that in your notes. That is a quote.
That is a.
I did not coin that phrase, but
It sounded pretty good though.
yeah.
Let's just say that you did.
Yes.
Let's just say that you
And if someone comes at me for copyright infringement, you lie your way out.
did. Exactly.
When in doubt.
When in doubt, cheat your way out. If you're stuck in the corner,
If you're backed in the corner, lie your way out.
There's another one there we're not gonna mention.
yeah, we're not mentioning that one.
But okay, first question.
I honestly don't know what that one is.
You do.
Okay,
It's okay.
we all
We'll talk
know.
about it later.
Okay.
Well, off camera.
My mom's listening to this.
Hi, mom.
Right. Like,
Okay, first question. What is the best and worst thing about being a principal?
Best thing about being a principal, I'm going to go like professional on this one, is that I have the opportunity to create the culture for the school. I have the opportunity to determine who we hire. I have the opportunity, being a private school, who gets into our school, programs, things of that nature. So I have the opportunity to really utilize the gifts that I have to create what we are.
yeah.
What about the worst?
Worst part, can I go deep?
Go deep.
You know what?
That's we're
the
here
way.
for.
Unfiltered.
hear it all.
Parents who refuse to hold their kids accountable.
That's good.
There comes a point in your child's trajectory, K through 12 trajectory, when you need to let them fail. They're out of dress code. They cheated on a test. Stop defending them.
Yeah.
Let them take it,
Yeah.
and I guarantee you they'll never do it again.
Yeah.
Stop asking the teacher on your child's behalf if they turn their homework in. Quit it.
Yeah.
What are you teaching your kid? That's the hardest part, is when you can't. And a lot of times, I'll be candid with you, it's the parent that has the first kid. This is the first time I had a kid in high school or whatever. But it's challenging, because then you have. It can also be rewarding, because you also
Right.
see growth in students. But at the end of the day, hold your own kids. No parent wants to see their kid fail. That's a fact, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, hold your kid accountable.
Yeah.
Don't make excuses for your kid.
Yeah.
I think that's what happened to all three of us. Our parents were always supportive, but they didn't were at your doorstep every single
I
day.
probably heard from all three of your parents combined 3 times in high school, and it had nothing to do about what you were doing in school.
Yeah. You probably.
Now that sounds terrible, but they fully supported what we did.
Yeah.
Saw them at games, saw them everywhere, every time we had an event. But at the end of the day, if it was something to do about your math score or your science score, it was just for you to figure out.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, my parents couldn't speak English, though.
And you probably heard more about my little brother than me.
Yeah.
So that's,
Correct. And your parents already went to high school. Why are you trying to go back to high school with your kid? Let your
That's
kid
true.
grow. Leave your kid alone for a second.
that's true.
What do you think that stems from? I mean, I know being let's say you have your child first time. What does that stem from?
I think it's social media, and I think it's the keeping up with the Joneses, the comparison factor, where I can't let my kid be be less than a different or some other kid in the school, or the parents. And I'm not bashing parents. Trust me, we love parents, but parents that support that are dogging coaches because kids don't get playtime, when everybody knows but you that your kid doesn't need playtime.
That's what I was
Yeah.
gonna say. It's about kind of embracing that reality of where your child may be, in the classroom or athletically.
How, as a principal, can you tell a parent that your kid's actually JV material?
That's for them to kind of figure out.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
We want your support, but at the end of the day, we need you to also have a concept of, as you said, reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your kid cheated on the test, and you're blaming that on the fact that you had to travel over the weekend and you had stop.
Right. Yeah.
Stop. Hold your kid accountable. But at the end of the day, when the school is also attempting to hold your kid accountable, support what the school has to say. I'm not wasting my time calling you. I'm busy.
Yeah.
And if I call you for something as a parent, it's because your kid did something. And I've got ways of figuring out what your kid did that your kid will squeal and tell the truth and not even realize they told the truth.
Yeah.
And it's not my first day.
It's definitely not.
Yeah. So
What is kind of a spin-off? What is like the craziest story that you had to experience situation being a principal? You don't have to name drop.
I don't know if it's crazy.
Or just like, man, like this is like so interesting.
I last year's senior trip, we were in Orlando, getting ready to fly back to Columbus. A kid loses his ID. I'm just yelling at him at the airport. I was like, "You're irresponsible. Dump your bag out." You know, one of those, because we're trying to get 40 kids through security,
Right.
this, that, and the other. And I'm yelling at him. He's dumping his bag out. You know, if you've been in the airport in Orlando, the hotel inside,
Yeah.
and he's dumping his stuff out in front of 14,000 people. Can't find his ID. So we get up to the TSA agent, and they said, "Well, go down to this little room, and if he can verify certain elements of, like, they'll search him on the computer. If he can verify like address, things of that nature, then we'll be fine if he goes without it." So he does all that, gets through security. I get up to TSA. It's my turn. Can't find my ID.
Well,
Can't find my ID. I've got 42 seniors, and I don't even know, 6 chaperones or whatever, who had gotten through security on the shuttle to the other side, and I can't get through. I'm leading this whole trip.
Jeez.
So a lot of not backing up. That
a different type of
yeah. So long story short, the rental car company emailed me like 2 weeks later. They found my ID in the rental car or one of the rental vans, but I had to verify like certain parts of my the trip or whatever. I'm like, here's the information. 40 people are on this trip with me. So that's probably one of the craziest moments. Of course, I had to go back and apologize to that student.
Yeah.
I was just agitated. How do you lose your ID? Irresponsible people lose your ID.
And then
I get up to TSA.
Lo and
I'm like,
behold.
where's my ID? Of
The
course, it's not my
principal
fault.
himself.
Yeah.
well. I mean, our senior trip,
That was a reality TV show.
that was it.
It was
We had
It was.
people
We
chasing.
should have had a camera.
One of the reasons there's no more senior trips. By the way.
Really?
Shout out to 20 grade team. We
Yes,
had
sir.
We had some.
the good and the bad.
From the
We wrestled an alligator.
From the
No, it wasn't
alligator.
wrestling. We tried alligator hunting at 2 a.m. or
Yeah,
something
in the dark.
in a gated community.
You know, one
it
of
was
the
a
most
gated community.
One of the most fun memories about that trip was throwing meals on the pool.
Yeah, so we threw mills.
We actually it worked.
It worked.
We tricked
It
it.
did.
No, and then so when we threw him, he looked at me and Dan, and he was so.
You know what was so
Right.
funny? He was
I see.
directing so
He
many
said-
people. Caleb to the pool.
he started name
Yeah,
dropping.
everybody was.
right.
I wanted certain people thrown in the pool.
It was
Yeah,
like a
So
big
in-
40.
he felt so much power.
Just to kind of give us some content,
Yeah.
or context here. Elijah's mom and dad were chaperones.
Yeah.
Can't speak a lick of English at this time. So his mom and dad are in the kitchen cooking dinner for everybody.
Yeah.
Some kind of rice.
Yeah, I remember
Chicken,
this. Yeah,
chicken.
some
Yeah,
rice
there
and
was
chicken.
no chicken in there. So
I ate it though.
people start throwing people in the pool because we're waiting around, waiting for the food to get done. And then at some point I was like, hey, go in there and drag him out here, drag her out here. So people, kept getting thrown in the pool. And so at this point, I'm like, everyone's getting in the pool at some point today.
Yeah.
And so I'd point to someone. I said, that's it. Everybody get him and get him in the pool. And lo and behold, you guys just thought you were creative.
It was pure entertainment. It was
Yeah,
entertainment for
it's
sure.
very entertaining.
Because he was directing so much. Hey, everybody to the pool.
Yeah.
And somehow
Mills to the pool. Wait,
So-
what?
Yeah, somehow we ended up getting him in the pool, which was super fun.
No, they threw my dad in the pool, but they had 4
They
guys.
didn't throw him in the pool. I thought he couldn't go in the pool because he held on
I
to the
remember
railings.
Yes, the pillar.
The wooden pillar. He was.
Dude.
I mean, he was sideways.
He had bear paws. This
Yeah.
man's father literally has bear paws for hands. Like this man can grip anything.
Like a claw.
Oh,
yeah.
He just wasn't letting go.
He can hang off a cliff with like 2 fingers.
You had
and
4
just be completely
guys, like I
fine.
mean, football players, trying to
Yeah.
take him off, and they were struggling.
Right,
And then
yeah.
Dan was in the pool. His phone got.
Yeah, that was the worst part of the
Yeah.
trip. Unfortunately.
I want to go on record. All these years later, So Dan's phone got destroyed in the
Yeah.
pool.
Yeah, it was.
I told them to put you in the pool, right?
Yeah.
I feel bad. So we go to the Apple store and they can't fix it.
He was gonna buy me a phone.
Yeah.
I said, I'll buy you a new phone right here. Just get whatever you want. And he wouldn't do it.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
And then this actually it triggers another memory when we were at the Apple store. All the
Oh.
devices
Oh my
we put
gosh,
Dan's
yeah.
face on there.
Yeah.
Right. I'm trying to focus on like, how did I get my phone to stop working?
And then like everything
Every-
he touches has like
Like,
Dan's
Man, like his
picture
football,
on there.
like his the nation
His
leader.
signature pose.
Yeah.
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
No, that was funny though.
All right, let's move on. So we got a couple more questions. What are some qualities that are needed to be a successful principal?
Ooh. You got to have grit, number one. I mean, obviously, outside of
Yeah.
understanding the role of you're the chief academic leader of that building, you got to have grit. I mean, it's every single day looks different. You will walk in there. I mean, I'll never forget this. My first day as principal, the bell rings. We do our morning announcements. I hang up the intercom and I go sit at my desk. And the first thing I thought is, now what am I supposed to do? But every single day looks different. Every day is different. Every single day.
Wow.
You might plan something, but then you have a discipline issue you got to deal with, or now you've got to call parents in for a meeting, or you've got to prep state test scores or testing, or I mean, just every single day there's something different. Now, don't get me wrong. You plan your week, plan your month, plan your year, whatever. But again, things are coming up all the time.
Yeah.
Cafeteria is 5 minutes late today. Well, that impacts everything.
Yeah.
So now you've got to figure out how to get teachers communicated with, and then not that they are late every day. I'm just saying you have to be able to adjust. Health department shows up on the spot. You have to stop what you're doing, no matter what you had planned, to go walk with the health department to walk the building. Yeah. Fire department shows up to pull the fire alarm. You know how many times the fire departments come the day we've had a fire drill? Like
Really?
we had a planned fire drill, and we're pulling the alarm at 10:30 in the morning. We pull the alarm, and then at 2:30 they show up to do a surprise.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just you have to be willing to adapt. And then
Yeah.
once you get the results from all this stuff, you have to figure out what to do with it all.
Yeah.
So it's a lot. No 2 days look the same. We had a former principal. She retired, and when I first got hired on, she says, "Welcome to being a principal. You'll always have a to-do list." My to-do list has turned into my to-do folder because I have so much stuff.
Right.
But about every year, I'll go through it and scratch everything off that I've accomplished, and I'm just like, "Wow, I didn't realize I got that done. I did this year.
Yeah.
I did this year." But trying to get things implemented can be hard.
Yeah.
It can be hard.
Yeah, I can imagine. And for the people that are watching, right, there's some people that want to get into education or
Run.
have this.
Yeah, run.
Okay, well that's
Answers
it.
the
That
question.
answers
No,
the question.
don't run into the school.
Run into the school.
Run into
Yeah.
your calling.
Exactly. There's people that do have that desire to be able to help in education, whether it's being a teacher at a high school or professor of some sort, just being in education in general. When you talk about all these things, there's stuff that's behind the scenes that most people don't see. But like for people that are watching, like the people that want to be able to get into this, like what are some encouraging things that you can tell them in a sense to be able to push them
Sure.
and encourage them that this is the right way to go?
Sure. I think your biggest failure as a teacher specifically is you love the content area, but you're forgetting who's supposed to be the recipient of that content.
Yeah.
If you don't understand students, if you can't connect with them, if you can't relate to them, if you can't figure out how to work with them, you're never going to make it in education. If you're and at some point you have to figure out which group of students you're called to work with: elementary, middle school, high school. And it might be all the above. I don't know. Right. But at the end of the day, if you are passionate about your content area and getting your classroom set up and having an awesome syllabus and doing all this, but you forget why you're there, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of great, solid people that know their information. They are certified, over-certified, highly qualified, but they can't connect to it. They can't connect with the student.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, why are you here? At the same time, I've seen the opposite. People that just gel well with students are they're able to manage their classroom, and the students have a lot of fun, but I don't see there's a lot of learning taking place in the classroom.
Yeah.
There's always that cool teacher, the one that usually is a football coach of some kind.
Track and football.
Literally, yeah.
Right.
It's always a coach.
Yeah, some kind.
Substitute.
Where they've got worksheet Wednesday every day of the week.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you know, you have to make sure that students are actually learning. And what I've discovered all these years, again, nearly 20 years later, that the teachers that the students are most appreciative of, the ones that they come back to thank, that they come back to want to see, are the ones that pushed them the hardest.
Yeah.
Not the ones that had fun every day, but the ones that actually said, this is what we're doing. You're going to leave this class being able to achieve all these things. And you got pushed beyond your comfort zone to achieve those things.
Yeah. I actually also want to point something else out that I kind of noticed. This somewhat similar of a topic, but like when it comes to like the way that you ran the school, something that I noticed that was different was the way that we ran like classes. So our classes weren't like as normal as like most high schools.
Right.
Like we actually structured our classes where it was like a Tuesday, Thursday thing, and then like a Monday, Wednesday,
We
Friday.
had 4 80-minute classes a day.
Yeah. And so like it was structured a lot different. Like, was that something that you implemented, or was this something that you?
That was there before I got there. And when I taught, I only taught on a block schedule.
Okay.
And I understand there are some subjects like math or whatever where the teacher believes you need to see your students every single day.
Right.
But at the end of the day, having a full 80 minutes with your students 2 to 3 times a week, depending on the week, I feel like you can get more accomplished in 80 minutes.
Yeah.
But you have to realize as a teacher, you're not seeing your students the other 2 days, so you can't give them just a normal amount of homework. You've got to give them homework for all 5 days of the week.
Right.
So there's a lot of different caveats and nuances and things that you have to be able to figure out when you're doing a block schedule like that. And if you have students in your room for 80 minutes at a time and you can't figure out how to connect with them,
Right.
But
it was also kind of like, it reminded me of college.
Yeah.
Kind of. That's
Yeah.
what I was trying
and that
to,
was that was one of our reasons for keeping it.
Yeah.
We had a lot of parents say, "Hey, I think my student would do better with a traditional 1 through 8 period,
Yeah.
every single day." But again, we put 100% of our students into college, and so they have
Exactly.
to be able to.
Yeah.
That's a flex.
That's a flex
Yeah.
right there.
That's a
There you go.
flex.
Yeah, flex on them.
We have some huge news coming at graduation this year.
Ooh.
Stay tuned.
Let me tell you now.
Yeah.
Might
I
as
mean, this
well,
is my yeah.
Okay.
Drop the news.
In the last 10 years, but you guys were a part of that.
Yeah.
In the last 10 years, keep in mind that our graduating classes this year it's 68, but we've
Super small.
yeah,
We
we
out there. Yeah, that's
yeah,
super small.
very.
Obviously.
But we were in the 30s and 40s as
Right,
well for
yeah, it's came a long
20,
way.
30 years. To the last 10 years, which gives us back to what, 2014?
Yeah.
When that class had 18 people in, 26 students in it.
Jeez.
And so we've obviously tripled. Well, I went to public school. How many times over is that to 68? A lot. So long story short, this year at graduation, this graduating class just surpassed the $100 million mark in college scholarships.
Wow.
that was
That's-
crazy.
So that's just the last 10 years. So we started tracking.
Wow.
So students bring a copy of all their college acceptances, all their scholarships to us, and we added up the last 10 years. The stack's
Jeez.
2 feet tall, and we're going to be celebrating that at graduation.
That's awesome.
And 99 million of that is from
I prophesied it when he
man
was
right
in
here.
middle school.
no.
And I probably should go on record as saying this. That doesn't include the majority of our athletics.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's probably way
'Cause
over.
a lot of our athletes didn't even report their
Correct.
scholarships.
All the offers they've
Yeah, all the
received,
offers
that's
and stuff.
predominantly your academic and merit-based scholarships that colleges are giving our students based on
Yeah.
GPA test scores, things like that.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I wanted to ask another question for confessions of reality of being a principal.
I think this is really serious.
It is.
It
It's,
flows. It flows. It
yeah.
flows, you know.
So I'm not going to have any,
we maybe.
I'm not going to get arrested over anything that I've
No.
done.
I know we got security.
It's just
in the back.
quick little hitters, I guess. I mean,
Everything's mic'd up currently. The CIA
To
is outside.
the sheriff's department.
Yeah.
But no. So you talked about, knowing your students, and then also knowing how to push them, right? And I think you have to, because students will benefit how much you push them in the long run. They'll be appreciative of it. But you also have to know who to push and how far you can push them,
Yeah.
right? How do you think you are misrepresented as a principal?
Oh, goodness. How am I misrepresented as a principal? I am not spending my days trying to figure out how to make kids' lives miserable.
Yeah.
I'm just not.
Yeah.
I have enough on my plate and enough to do that if I have to hold a student accountable for something that they've done, something that they've said. It's typically, in my case, as a result of this is our handbook policy, I don't have a choice.
Yeah.
I believe in giving students second, third, fourth, fifth chances. At the end of the day, you can't hack it. I have to determine next steps so I can get you to understand your actions and whatever behavior you're exhibiting is inappropriate for the school setting or appropriate for life.
Yeah.
And I think, especially if you think about a coach, I mean, obviously coaches are always pushing students, and I'm sure you could talk about coaches that you've had that have pushed you farther than what you thought possible. One of my good mentors, I think she got this from somewhere else or from someone else. She said that when it's time for a test, and that'll just be like a written test in math class or a test in life of any kind. When it's time for a test, a true teacher will have given the student all the answers. It's not like cheating, but I mean, you will know how to maneuver what it is you have to maneuver in life if you have somebody who's truly effective teaching and guiding you. And as a teacher or as a leader in the school, a building principal, you have to be able to see where this student is and figure out where this student needs to go and create that path for that student. Every path will look different, but every student will end up in the same place.
Oh, that's good.
That's basic differentiation. So like how I communicate to Dan is different than how I communicate to Elijah,
Right.
different than how I communicate to Jesse. But at the end of the day, I'm still communicating to all three of you the same thing.
Yeah.
Really how you receive what it is I've shared, which is also important to understand the background of that student.
Yeah.
And labels can be limiting. So I hate when teachers at the beginning of the school year say, oh, that's the bad kid from fourth grade.
Yeah.
Oh, that's he did that last year. Don't do that.
Right.
Don't do that. Because we have teachers all over the country who a kid will come into their classroom and they will instantly do everything that teacher says, and that teacher's never raised their voice one time, but there's something about that teacher that student trusts. Or at the same time, that very same student will go into a different teacher's classroom and not do a thing they say, not listen to them, be disrespectful, be insubordinate, be defiant. Why is that? Because kids don't learn from people they don't like. And I'm not saying you got to play the cool card and be the cool kid, but at the end of the day, you have to see the potential within that student and figure out how you can help that student achieve their purpose and their potential. When you get to that place, that student's then going to at some point realize that.
Yeah. That's good.
And I just one more little add-on. We had our seniors this year as part of their it was for their Bible class, for their capstone project this year. They had to write a letter of appreciation to one teacher, and they had to show. They had to explain to that teacher why they are appreciative of the impact that they've made. Almost 40% of our seniors wrote their letter of appreciation to their Bible teacher.
Really?
Wow.
Now, nothing wrong with math, English, science, because those teachers are fun. They're fantastic. They're phenomenal. But Bible class, that's where you really have development.
Yeah.
That's where you're really growing as a person, as a student. And the fact that the students saw the growth in
that's so
themselves as a result of the influence of that teacher makes all the difference.
That's so good.
Makes all the difference.
So good.
We have one last question. It's kind of deep.
Oh, no.
So as we finish this question, we'll wrap it up. What has been the lowest moment of your career, and how did you overcome it?
Lowest moment of my career, and how did I overcome it?
Yeah, being a principal.
Right. Oh, goodness. I don't know about lowest moments. I've had a lot of I guess it would be devastating news.
Yeah.
When you have certain people, whether it be teachers or other principals that you poured into, and then they end up transitioning out and going to a different place. I'll be candid with you. One of the reasons why I wrote Pick Up the Phone is I was leaving, and you guys know the exit on our campus, the Kirby exit that kind of goes through Gender Road.
Yeah.
I was frustrated beyond belief one day at students, incidentally. And here I think I'm like the student whisperer. I can get any student to listen to anything that I say, red, yellow, black, or white. Like, you're going to connect with me in some way.
Yeah.
And plain as day, and I'm not one of those overly spiritual people. You guys obviously know that. Plain as day, I heard the Lord say, Andrew, I didn't call you to the subject, I called you to the student. And when you will take or get and obviously I was a social studies teacher, but get the social studies out of the way, get to the root of who the student is, Then the social studies, the history, the government, economics, whatever, will take care of itself.
Yeah.
So when I was a teacher, one of the lowest moments when I was frustrated, upset that I couldn't make progress in my class, students were not behaving, I instantly shifted my thought process that day based on what I believed was the Lord was sharing with me. I didn't call you to the subject. I called you to the student. Take care of the student. Everything else will take care of itself.
And it's evident here at this podcast that one of the very first guests that we have is our principal.
Yeah.
And
Special edition.
It's a special edition, the one and only. You know, what's his nicknames?
ASAP Mills.
ASAP
Millie
Mills.
Rock.
Millie.
Dan, you don't have rhythm.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. You tried. It's all. I love the effort.
Millie Rock Mills. That's the
Millie
one
Rock.
That's the one I made.
Papa Mills.
I've been called everything under the sun.
Money Mills.
Money Mills.
Hey.
Yeah.
Money
Cash
Talk.
at me, AJM159.
Shameless plug. But thank you so much, Joel Mills. We just want to show our appreciation, say thank you just for
appreciate it.
being the person that you are. And you've impacted us in ways that, you know, we realize, but even we don't realize.
Yeah.
And, you know, like I said, this is not a gift, but it's more so I had a couple of pictures of us. I pulled up
That's great.
so for the
That's
camera.
great. Some throwbacks
And
there.
then I just had to pull out the
Hey.
2018.
2018 yearbook, baby.
So,
That's great.
You know, let's see if I can find a picture of Mills.
Is there one? There's probably not.
Yeah, there's
I don't know,
probably.
one in there.
So, but thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, this is on, you know, a yearbook, but that year I think was one of the most special moments
Yeah,
in
it
our
was.
lives. So thank you for making it.
Shameless plug.
Well, I
designed
say that.
yearbook actually.
You designed it?
I did.
So,
I was part of the yearbook.
Jesse has
crew.
talent.
he does. All these years.
All
Who
these
knew?
years.
Can you expose some of that talent on this podcast?
Yes, we
For
can.
once.
So thank you. Please
Thank you for having me. I
like,
appreciate it.
Steer up for that,
subscribe.
man.
Give it up. Give it up.
Great job.
So make sure you like, subscribe, and you know we're gonna have more guests in the future. This is one of many. And Mills, you are officially invited back. You know, down the road. We're excited. So please, please, please show love to those people that pour into you. Make sure you show appreciation, and just give them a call or text and say, "Hey, thank you so much for pouring into my life and for leaving a legacy." And that's what you did.
I appreciate that.
All righty. Until next
Alrighty,
time.
y'all.
Peace and love.
Deuces.
Peace and love.